No, I got it. All right, now we live. Oh, got it.
Facts. All right, King. What deal? What hurt? What's going on, my guy?
What's going on, fam?
You know, I'm here, man. I'm a little tired today. Just came from the gym, killed these, had a little leg workout, pause. So, I'm just here, you know, trying to get my protein in, but I'm happy to be here. Oh, what's my man? What's my guy? There's my guy. What's
What's
going
up?
on? What's up?
What's
What's
up, fam?
going?
How
What's
you?
going on?
How's
Say,
things? How's things?
What's going
things
on?
are
Put you
good,
guys
man.
together good so you can see everybody. All right, all right. Jason's in the building. What's
What's
going
up,
on, Jason?
fam?
What's up, brother?
Yeah, man. Good to see you, man. First and foremost, man. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. So
Surely,
we're
surely.
we're just super excited, man. We're live in the Boy Man King podcast. Highlight my man, 100 grand, Jason. Richards, aka Mr. PG of the year. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Do it right all the time, Mr. Make the right play. You know what I'm saying, make the right read,
Oh
man of
man,
God,
His,
father,
history.
husband,
Pure flowers
leader.
tonight,
You know
kid.
what I'm saying, teacher, educator, philanthropist, trainer. You know what I'm saying? Like performance coach, mental fitness
Mm.
coach, physical conditioning, man, boot camps. Like he's just doing it all, man. What else? What
I'm gonna say,
else?
what don't you do, bro?
Yeah,
What
I think
don't you
that's the
do?
question we gotta ask, man. That's the question we really gotta ask. What does this guy not do, man?
Yeah, what do you not do, bro? Let's think about what you don't do.
um, uh,
He can't even answer.
Man, he can't even figure it out, Chizzy. Chizzy. My man said
He
I
can't.
was a dentist. He was like I was a dentist last week and a scientist last month. Dang,
okay,
that
yeah,
man can't even
I'm
figure it
definitely
out.
not a dentist. I'm definitely not a dentist. We can go
Okay,
with
get
that.
out of that. All right, we'll take
Definitely
that.
not
We'll
a
take,
dentist, bro.
we'll
Hey
take that.
man,
So what?
listen, I got a universal person for us, man. Just came back from CJ's game.
Uh,
He had a game tonight. Had like five threes.
mm,
Oh,
It's been getting interesting, Jay. I've been getting calls from Honcho from Quavo them. A Puma shoe team had a conversation with me today. Just that the energy is completely different from a year ago, where it was like, your son got potential. I like him. He's a good kid. So now we're
mm-hmm.
getting different conversation. He plays on the number one team in Gwinnett County. They undefeated. They played a game. So he played a league game today. He played a middle school game Wednesday. They won like 87-11. So
Oh wow,
like,
no
yeah,
mercy
so
rule
like,
no more.
my
yeah,
goodness.
so they do put the mercy rule in, but CJ, every game but one has been mercy, like running clock in the second quarter, because once you go up 30 points in
Mm,
Mm.
Gwinnett County, it's a running clock, and they've been up by 30 in the second quarter of every game but one. But all the games went to running clock though. But a lot of people say they got the number one team in the state of Georgia in middle school, because they done had like six alley oops dunks in their game in middle school.
what? What they got? Like
That,
baby Zion Williams is on that court? My
Hey
do
goodness.
not
man,
say
these kids are
do not say
developing a
Zion
lot
Williamson.
quicker, man.
Yeah, but they do have a 6'6" kid who's athletic.
Um,
Um,
in middle
but
school,
yeah,
bro,
in middle school, yeah, and he's
six
14.
six.
And he's 14.
What? Like, what are they feeding these kids, man? My goodness, that's amazing. He's pretty much writing his ticket. Like, that's amazing, dude. That's what's up.
But the point I bring it to y'all, Chizzy, you his godpa, Jason, you his
Mm,
trainer. Um,
mm.
but the biggest difference I did in CJ's life was I stopped being a coach and trainer,
Right,
and I just
right, right, right. I mean, we talked about that. Yeah, yeah.
focused on
Just be
CJ.
there.
Yeah.
And it's like I almost got caught up, Jason, about the fourth coach that called. He was like, "Man, you could be the head coach. You could pick the team how you want. CJ could run point. We just really want him." And
Mm,
I almost got caught up in like, that's this.
Overtook that.
It's eighth grade. It's his last year for high school. But me and him talked. We had a long ride today in the car on the way to the game, just me and him. And I was like, man, I'm gonna focus on being dad and being your personal trainer until you
right.
get to college. And then we can
Mm-hmm.
switch up the plan. So he was like, I like that plan, Dad. And
For
I'm
sure,
just like,
man.
man, you lock in for 10 months, you know what I mean? Like we focused, like I saw him in tryouts AAU in February. I didn't like what I saw. I knew he had more in him. And like now the conversation in November, December is completely changing the same year, So
Mhm.
I kind of parlay it to when we talk about development, right? It could be basketball, it could be life. But like if it's concentrated and you got a good trainer or a coach, I wanted to kind of hear you guys' feedback on like the power of 1 year focus. Like, what it made me reflect was when I wanted to change my life, if I locked in for a year, I moved the needle in my life, no matter what that was. So to see it in my son's life, you know what I mean? Like a year would be February of us saying, oh no, I'm not doing no training. I'm not AAU coaching nobody. Like I'm just focused on CJ. So much so I took him to Vegas for a week and a half to work out with a professional development coach. My aunt out there with a JV, JUCO basketball team, do open runs with them. I've been just like really focused on him and kind of seeing the fruits of it, man. Just want to give you guys feedback on whether it's just from CJ's perspective or just life perspective, like the necessity to lock in and kind of close out the world for a year and put your head down and then what and it's crazy you try to get better by doing that. Opportunities came to you because you got better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You want to start? You want to take that, or you want me to go first? Because you are a guest, so this is your place. This for you. This is your thing. You know what I'm saying? It's your thing.
I feel like locking in, especially when you put a time frame on it, the focus is just really heightened. It's like it's easier to stay disciplined and consistent when you have a schedule and you have a goal, like a specific goal that you want to reach by the end of a year. I could actually speak to that because I've talked to some of my kids about that. Like please just lock in and let's see what we can go. And with these kids, sometimes you can't say a year because that'll scare them. You know what I'm saying? I'll say like 3 months. I like lock in for 3 months and let's see where we are. And I think another important part behind that is having some type of assessment to show that there's growth. You know what I mean? So I do an assessment, especially with my basketball guys. I do an assessment for anyone that says like, yo, I'm going to lock in, and it hits all points. And then we check again in 3 months. We check again in 6 months. And those are the kids that really grow. But I think one of the big keys that you said was that you stop focusing on being a coach and focused on being his supporter, his dad. And I think that's probably the things like, yo, I got my dad in my corner now. It's like, if I fail, I'm not failing in front of my coach no more. Failing in front of my father.
Yeah,
so that's big.
It eliminates a certain pressure for dad as well, for Chris and for CJ.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because we know our boy Crump. We know our boy Crump is hard.
This is true.
And CJ is a humble cat. He's more humble than his dad is. Keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? When he court, he turns up as a maniac. But outside of that, so I'm glad, and that shows a lot of maturity also in you, my brother, because I know your heart. Obviously we know each other personally, and I know coaching for you is a big part of who you are, not just in basketball, just in life, period. You know what I'm saying? You do a lot of that, in your business element, in your business hat. So for you to step back and be like, all right, let's just focus on being dad, I think that's huge. And it's amazing that you've seen that growth in that small period of time. So that's super dope, man. I'm happy for you.
I want us to speak to it. And I think what helps Chizzy is I had a full frame of reference. I had 2 years that I locked in, Jason. My senior year in high school and my senior year in college. And I tell CJ the story all the time. I was getting gassed up by people, church people, local news. I get to my senior year, I'm like, there's not one college offer on my desk, in my mailbox. There's not one college coach coming to the game. So I'm like, I was done with all the gas after my junior year. I was like, lock in, 2 days before the season start, extra dribbling workouts for PE. Like I was just like locked in. Then I got the scholarship. Then we did the press release, right? Then my mom came, we took the picture with the head coach. So I get to college. I'm gassed up again, Jason. And now no pro agency or agent wants to represent me after my junior year. So I'm like, I ain't going back home. I'm not even getting a job. I'm staying on campus. I'm gonna work out 2 days and I'm gonna live on campus for 4 months and I'm gonna do open run with my boys. So me and one of my best friends, he stayed in Tennessee. I stayed up in my campus in Flagler. But I was telling CJ, what if I didn't wait until my senior year of my high school year and my senior year of my college year to lock in, to have some of the best years of my life on the court? I say, what I would encourage you to do is find, I don't know what it is for you, CJ, but find a regiment now at 14 and just keep it to 24. So we're playing like a 10-year play. Because I'm like, bro, this is going to happen. It got a break here. So when you talked about Chizzy, I took the pressure of next week, next month, like, bro, like find your system and find how you're going to get better year to year, season to season. And that's the play you run for 10 years. Not like you start to be cool. I say, you trying to be cool or you trying to be cold? And I share this with you guys because I think we got to understand, a lot of us as men, a lot of our development in certain areas, they're 10-year plays. You know what I mean? Like we may have a year that we lock in, but when it comes to our financial stability and freedom, when it comes to our relationship intimacy, when it comes to building effective community and businesses, you know what I mean? Like we're so like, yo, I'm got my new thing going. It's like, that's not how you build a business. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a 10-year play, but you're just locking in on a certain aspect, like you said, assessing yourself over the year, but you're committed to a whole bigger picture. That's why you can be more patient and considerate, give yourself grace to grow. So you guys talk about that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. As you know, like, I speak openly about, my journey 2 years in when I first jumped on the prayer line and how that focus from making that shift, making that mindset shift, shifting my routines, even shifting my associations with certain people have often, that's that iron sharpens iron sort of thing that is super critical to locking in and staying locked in. Because, sometimes when we make these decisions, to just lock in, it's isolating. It can be a lonely choice, a lonely journey, especially if you're used to having the people on the periphery of your circle that's like, not on that same plane anymore. And so what I've noticed that in the last 2 years, and I'm in a different position now, even academically and professionally, where I've got a different level of focusing that I'm endeavoring to do. And I'm seeing the benefits. And when I talk about perfection, you know what I'm saying? Of course, as we know, when we take in this journey and we lock in, these are also the times when obstacles can become a lot greater because, as we know, the enemy is always trying to derail your plans, especially if your plans are aligned with God's calling in your life. You know what I mean? So these are the times as well. And, Chris and I and Noel, we talk about this all the time, where we need that camaraderie with brothers so even sitting here and having this conversation with you guys tonight, this is enriching and therapeutic for me in terms of locking in, because it's easy to just get derailed just by virtue of the isolation that comes even with locking in. There's a level of isolation because, you're really, really trying to tap into that inner part of you to chisel away at the small little stupid things that can kind of derail you. You know what I'm saying? So even this conversation once a week, every other week when we do it, it's like, yo, all right, yeah, it's time. I swayed away a little bit. It's time to lock back in and continue to be consistent. Continue to sharpen that chisel. Continue to be around brothers that can help me just push through and stay in the pocket and get my reps in. Like, you know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm ranting a little bit, but I'm super excited. Yo, I swear, every time before we go on live, I get anxious. was telling them about last week. I got nervous and I had this spirit of I'm not sure, but it's amazing. As soon as we lock in and start having these conversations, bro, the switch just clicks and it's
Yeah.
rejuvenating. So yeah, that's my little rant for a little
And
bit.
Jason, I want you to speak to how it is to accept both spaces intentionally, to be lonely as a man. I like accepting the fact that part of this is lonely and that is necessary, right?
Yeah.
But also that intentionality with associations. That when I do get a reprieve and I do have to detox and I do have to just be human, that I intentionally do that with a certain group of men, not just any men. Jason, talk about both spaces. Like, why are they so necessary?
So I think that it's important to achieve balance in all things. As far as the lonely part, I kind of thrive in that more than most people. I do at times. I would even say that sometimes I prefer that lonely time, but at the same time, I also understand operating in a space and associating with certain people that push me, that don't just accept me as I am, people that want to see me thrive. And sometimes it comes in the form of criticism. And it's very hard for me sometimes to accept criticism, but I've learned to operate in that space. I got to give a shout out to my cousin on that one, man, because Miles, I love my cousin Miles, man, because he pushed me to another level business wise. I was the guy that I just love being in the gym, man. I was thinking about how I should be accepting payments. Like I would honestly do that stuff for free if I'm. Well, let me not say that. Let me not say that.
Don't block your blessings. Don't block your blessings.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But
let's double down on Miles though, because shout out to Miles. He's throwing a little shade in the comments. Miles, we see you, man. Thanks for showing love. But talk about the other part. So you say you thrive in being lonely, but can you equate that to because your brotherly need is being met because you have a unique family dynamic with your cousin, with your family, with your father. Like y'all be around the gym. Like Chizzy, he's like Jason, you're our age and you still work out with your father. Like you hang with your cousin, like as a weekly thing, as a regular thing. That's not some event. You know what I mean? So it's like I will argue, you can more accept being lonely and wanting to be lonely, being locked in lonely because you have a very safe space as a man with men who share your values and who share your family and who share your future. Like they share all of that and they protect it when you're not around so that when you do go to be lonely, it's not to say easier, but it's a healthier space for you to be lonely because you get to work out with your dad. You get to do business with your cousin who holds you accountable, who you see weekly. Like, you know what I mean?
And let's be clear, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. You know what I'm saying? Like being solitude, I think is necessary, which is what we're speaking to, solitude, finding time to just function in your space and know that that's your best time for you to focus on you. Loneliness to me, obviously, is a state of mind where you feel like you need to fill voids, where you feel like you need to put stuff in your space and you don't know what it's like to just be solo. And that's a lot. Go ahead.
That's what I was getting at with Jason. I want to hear you respond because I know for me, I miss my dad. I miss my dad a lot. Like I struggle with not going to Florida every month. Like I just like to see him and hang around him. So it's like when I see even you with your dad, it reminds me that I don't have my dad as a man at 40 years old. Like I never lose the fact that I like to see my dad. Like that's me personally. So for me, I think it's important for us to make the decision. When you say I thrive being alone, because we first was talking about lonely. And I was like, I think the reason Chizzy that you highlighted that the loneliness comes from, I don't get to just have my dad and my cousin and my brother just with me as a regular thing to meet that particular need, if I'm making sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I actually had someone say to me that uh, the support of my father has
Mm,
been huge. He said to me, he was like, "Man, whenever I see you walk into an event that is focused on something that you're doing, I know your dad's going to be walking in right behind you." So
wow.
basketball games, when I was doing, AY ministries, he would always come back. He was always supporting. Even now, when I have a game as a grown man, he's like, "When are you playing?" "All right, I'm free. I'll be there." You know.
Mm,
So that support has
that's
been
beautiful,
big.
bro.
It's been big. As soon as Miles was grown enough to play with us, he was on the court with us. My uncle, Miles's dad, same way. And it came from me being around them so much as a young kid. Like
Yeah.
when I was 10, I was playing with my uncle and other grown men. You know what I mean? He would take me to the gym with him.
Mm,
Um, so I've always had, that safe place
mm.
around, and females too, because I had my sisters, I had my mom, so I've always had that support. So yeah, it's definitely easier for me to step outside of that and be alone or lonely, because I know that I have something to fall back on when I need it.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
support was big, man, and that's why I take working with young people so seriously, because I
Mhm.
see that they're missing that
Mhm.
support.
I was gonna say that because there are a lot of there are some viewers out there, I'm sure, when they listen to us talk. I have a similar bond with my dad as well. They just moved to Scotland over the last year, and I'm flying to Scotland to spend the holidays with them after I spend time with my family, my kids in Canada. And to your point, like it's a miss. It's this piece that you feel like you have this desire to just be around your dad, be around my mom. It's just a part of, and so there are a lot of guys out there listening who
Mm.
don't know what that's like, who don't
Mm,
doesn't understand what that's like, which
Come on.
makes which makes brotherhood, the work that you do, the work that we do, vital because, like you said, you work with young people. Chris and I, obviously, we work with young people for a number of years, and that camaraderie is that's money in the bank in terms of putting credit investments into your future that you don't even recognize when you're young. I tell my son that all the time, like his 20, 21. I'm just so happy that I'm able to just be here. Like I'm gonna go pick him up from work this evening. And I'm just like small things like that are the things that even though he
Mm,
sees it to be just a ride, it's bonding time. It's time that you get just to really just gauge where you are. Like we're planning this trip. He's doing a lot of amazing things. In Europe, he's got to travel to Europe to model for one of his great brands. So these are times where we get to sit and talk and just be father, son, and friend as well. Because when you get to a certain age, it's like you go from, like you said, Crumb, you go from being a parent where you're like, do this, do this, do this, and your wisdom and the stuff that you impart in your children come in different forms, where they now see how
yeah,
your
yeah.
actions
That
and your commitment to your family, to your spiritual walk, they see that consistency part of you. So it goes from words to actions.
mhm,
And when the 20, 21 years old, they can translate, they can understand that at 21 years old, my dad is now a grown man and I'm seeing his actions. And I can emulate some of those things that I didn't understand that when I was a kid. Because he was telling me so much when I was a kid, but now they see my actions and they continuously see my actions. It's a beautiful thing to be able to just share those moments with your loved ones, with your family, with your son, with your father, and like we said, there are a lot of brothers out there who do not have that.
mhm,
Um, and
and
so it's
that's what I
go
wanted to
ahead.
speak to as far as like our energy. Are you
Mm-hmm.
guys? I was very conscious of this, Jason, in the space where we work with people, we work with young people, we work with young boys and girls. Like I work with them with the strong consciousness of they don't have a father like I had a father.
Yeah.
mhm,
That a lot of this behavior, a lot of this disconnect, a lot of this self doubt, all of this is
Mm-hmm.
coming from not having that reassurance of not having a strong bond and relationship with their father. Because when I look at all three of us, like we not only did this podcast together and do business, like we would hang with each other together because we have similar values and virtues.
Similar values. Yep.
But the reality is we all have fathers in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't, I think it's the first time I've been on a call with three men and we all had a father like in our lives, like significantly, like our entire life. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the work we're doing in our families, in the community, right?
It only makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want, are you really conscious, Jason, when you do the work that you do in the schools and in your basketball training, like how conscious are you all that you're more than just a trainer, you're more than just an educator? Literally, to a lot of those kids, you're a father figure.
Yeah.
I feel like I put that at the forefront of everything that I do. When it comes to me working with the kid, I intentionally connect. When I speak with them, I call them family. You know what I mean? Because I see them as family, and a lot of my trainees that do have their dads in their lives, when they come to training, their dad comes to training. So I'm seeing that connect there, and then when I see a trainee who might not have their fathers around, they tend to stick around after the session a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I know what just about to say.
They'll stay and talk to you, and at times it even like I have to like step away from a conversation to go train someone else, and I'd be like, "Yo, I'll be right back." Like I'm coming right back because I don't want you to feel as though you're not important. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that there's students that have been gone for 4 years because I work in middle school. I have kids hitting me up talking about, "Yo, it's my 18th birthday. We're going to dinner. Come." And I had a parent come to me the other day. I just left one of my old students' dinner like 2 weeks ago. Her mom came up to me and was just like, "Yo, you've been at every major event since you've met her."
Wow.
You know, that's big, especially with your mom to trust her, you know, in my care and stuff like that, you know. I don't take it lightly. I'm intentional with it.
And it's natural though. That's the thing. You can't like package. There's no degree you can go to any university to learn the intentionality that comes with just being able to nurture a child that's not your child. Because the passion, and I think, like you said, it's directly related to the relationships that we have with our own parents, with our own fathers, that says that organically just makes it a natural fit, a natural synergy for us to just be in a space with young people and kids and just gravitate towards them, and they gravitate towards us for the short term to the long term. There's no mistake in that. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, we can go down the long rabbit hole of why the community is the way it is and all that type of thing. But it's a very simple, basic, organic relationship component, whether it's with, father, son, uncle, son, adult male to a younger male. It's just that simple, and how important that is to nurture the abilities of young people, man. So,
but let's talk about we transition to, we do it for other kids, but what about our own kids? Jason, how old are your kids?
My daughters are 9 and 5.
9 and 5. Chizzy, how old are your kids?
I ain't got kids no more, bro. I'm got teenagers. My son is 21 and my daughter's 16.
Yeah, and mine are 16 and 14. And talk about it as parents, we all got two. And about just the reality of the transitions. Like Chizzy, because you talked about the transition of like your son is a man and going overseas and doing his thing and navigating life. I know for me, Jason, for both of my kids, I have went from this authoritative perspective as a parent, as dad, Mr. Macho, to just strictly coaching and supporting. I really it's like it done went to strictly conversation now. I mean, it's
Yep.
almost
For real.
because it's like
Yeah.
in our household, for my two kids, there's nothing new under the sun. They know their parents and they have accepted them, and we know them and we've accepted them. And it's like now how to navigate the real world, how to navigate life, how to navigate and why we do the things that we do. And let me just clarify some things. So, what stage are you guys in? You know, that's the stage I'm in. I'm curious, what stage are you in with your kids?
I'll go. I'll go. Oh, you with me? I'll go. I'll go. Similarly, so I'm speaking for the single brothers. You know, I'm divorced, so you know there's a nuance that comes with being a divorced father. Um, you know, I speak openly about stuff that's taken place in my past relationship with my ex-wife. Today, amazing, amazing relationship, amazing friendship. Tell you a small little story. Like I'm the one that gets cold when you know when stuff gets needed outside of the normal stuff. So, for example, illness. My ex-wife, my children's mother, sick currently. I don't want to put our business out in the street, but just a small example of how the man that I used to be, I would never ever consider going to her aid. Strictly platonic, strictly from the space of I loved you once and I still care for your well-being. And I want to demonstrate to my children that in spite of our circumstances, dad is still a champion for making sure that mom gets what she needs and the children gets what she needs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But the guy that I was before 2, 3 years ago, I don't never. You can't call me to get me to do anything for my ex-wife because I'm still bitter, I'm still angry, I'm still playing the victim. No, it's just like, yo, I look to those opportunities because I want to demonstrate to my kids that she's still a priority. She's still a priority to you. She's still a priority to me. And this has nothing to do with relationships. Not has nothing to do with us trying to rekindle something that's more centered around, you know, what's necessary. What type of narrative do I want my children to understand as it relates to my involvement in their mom's life at this stage of where we both are? Because we will always be family. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
but
So my
Chizzy, are you operating like that because she said it did something different, or you matured differently to respond differently?
I think you know the answer to that question, bro.
I
But
just want to hear you.
for our audience edification, 100% is me. 100%, I made that shit. 100%, I had to, you know, again, the maturity, the forgiveness, the self-love, the spiritual guidance, the you know, the 180-degree transformation allows me to just be a resource to her. I'll always be a resource to her and my kids. You know what I mean? She didn't do anything. She's probably the same person that she is, and that's not a slight to her. I'm just saying for me, no longer am I focused on the situation or how she reacts to the situation or how her reactions and what she says and what she does. This is just what I'm called to do because this is what God asked me to do. He asked me to be a leader to my family, to be a leader for my children, and even to be a leader towards my ex-wife.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not something you just arrive at in a day. It takes a lot of chiseling. It takes a lot of ironing. It takes a lot of conversations with you, Crumb. It takes a lot of conversations with you, Jason. It takes a lot of conversations with Noel. It takes a lot of accountability from the prayer line. It takes a lot of accountability. It takes a lot of humble pie from me. A lot of prayer. All of that. So it takes us back to our conversations around consistency and how if you're consistent in the things that you do and you put God as the sole meter, sole measurement for your success in your life, this is what happens. It's not perfect, but it's a 180-degree turn that I would never have seen otherwise. That was a long response to your
Love it,
question.
though. I love it. And kudos to you, Chizzy. Like it's so important to put this stuff on the internet because we're hearing so much craziness and seeing so much craziness, man. And I'm just so proud of you. And I know what you've been through. I know the other sides of Chizzy. So to see the man that you're walking into as a daily commitment for the last couple of years, and now how that's benefited your children and your ex-wife directly,
For
not
sure.
in some philosophical approach at an event. Like, nah, like you're tangibly doing stuff for her.
Yeah.
Physically, but also in the house doing domestic duties. Like it's stuff that I know that you're doing that's like, it's like all that you've been through, you're still making sure you support. But Jason,
100%.
You having two little girls, you've been in a modern era, you see what we're doing going on in the world in 2023. Like you have two little girls that you're really framing their narrative, framing their culture, framing the richest way. Like, what does that look like to you in real time?
As far as my children, I try my best to be consistent in the values that I teach. One of the biggest things that I focus on in my house is their personal relationship with God. I tell them, even at 9 and 5, I'm like, if daddy don't pray with you, you still need to pray before you go to sleep. You need to pray up. My oldest, Chase, she'll come to me, and when she knows she's supposed to be in bed, and she'll be like, Daddy, can you read the Bible to me? And I was, how can I say no to that? You know,
come on.
Like you're supposed to be sleeping, but like let's do it. Yeah, I mean, even if there is an ulterior motive, like I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity to read the Bible. So, and then I try to show them the man that they should connect themselves to in the future. I like when I tell you I do that intentionally, the way I treat their mother, the way I treat them, the way I am in the house. I'll come home from a long day work. You need me to sweep. You need me to wash dishes. I don't cook that often. I will say that, but you know, my wife throws down in the kitchen, so I'll do everything else. You know what I'm saying? They see me come home after working the 12-hour day, and they see me sweeping the living room, sweeping the kitchen, loading the dishwasher, unloading the dishwasher, because I want to show them the type of man that they should be with later on. Plus, I've actually already started praying for their husbands.
Wow.
Like that's that.
Hey, man of God.
We giving them games. We giving them games. We giving them crazy games.
Already praying for your daughter's husbands. Wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Husbands,
keep going.
Do tell. I'm not. And that's something that, like, everyone that's listening, like, if you have kids, be intentional with the connections that they make. I pray for their friends too.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be a big part of their influence.
Yeah.
They're going to spend time with them soon.
I got a story with Dad. I've been so intentional of being an impactful, engaging father that my kids are starting to mimic me with their friends. You know, and this is not a flex. This is just really what I would do if I was in a position to do it. But a couple of times, like Jada has been around me where I paid a bill for everybody at the restaurant, right? And I did it for her friends a couple of times, and just be like, you know, it wasn't even something big. Like it was like with all of them together, I think it was like 6 of them, Jason. We was at somewhere, it was less than $100. So it's not even a real flex like that, right? But it was just like these kids, this little $20 means the world to them. And I know how that was when I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
So they was very appreciative. So me and Mom 2 months ago, we're off in Mexico on a trip, and we get a charge from Waffle House on her card because we get the transactions.
Right.
And it's like over $70. I'm like, there's nothing at Waffle House that you could order that would be over $70, even with a tip. Jason, I said the statement, and instantly I knew what happened. I said, she paid for everybody's meal.
Yeah.
And I came back home and I said, hey, you went to Waffle House after the game with some of your friends? She was like, yeah, Daddy, yeah. I said, you paid for the whole bill for everybody? She was like, Yeah. I said, Jada, I got a job. You don't have a job. You shouldn't be paying. But she, in her mind,
Yeah.
though, she like, you with me, I take
But
care
also,
of it. She's
she's saying
already,
you good.
you
You
know what I
can't
mean?
blame her.
Like she's
You know what I'm
already
saying?
thinking like that. So it was just when you said when you praying for their friends and how you being very intentional about even their future husbands, like I think it's important to like highlight how fathers were just really being strategic on what I'm showing you, what I'm sharing with you, how I'm supporting you. But I want to talk to the piece that Chizzy brought up. The first, let's answer the question in the chat, and then
Yeah.
I want to go back to Chizzy's point. It's Demetrius Williams says, "Do you think the dynamic changes between biological fathers and stepfathers?" I do think the dynamic changes, but as somebody who was adopted, and as somebody, Chizzy could speak to this. I was raising a teenager in my house for 3 years. You guys are both aware I'm Drake. The dynamic changes, but the principle is the same.
Yeah.
Like if you're a father, you're gonna father the same way to your child, the training child, the school child, the stepchild. Like
Mm-hmm.
the father is going to be a father. I think the challenge is not in how we subconsciously father, because I think in the men that I rock with, the men that I know that father their children, they kind of father consistently the same way, even if other children were around, right?
Yeah.
The challenge becomes, do the woman involved fully trust him to let him be a father? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that's the conversation I want to get to, Chizzy, is that as I reflect on my life now, Jason, my development in the past 20 plus years, like it's a direct result to my commitment to my wife, right?
Yeah.
But, we had a situation last week where CJ played soft. And so I was like, go in the backyard. Wife come, how's the game? I said, I don't want to talk about it. Go in the backyard. Basically, we do a rebound drill, and my son's crying. But it's a healthy cry, right? My wife don't want to see him cry, so she leaves, right? I'm just pushing him
Yeah.
physically, emotionally. Like I'm pushing him to let him know that this is what it's like to fight for what you want. You have to give it everything you got. You can't just
Yeah.
work hard and try hard. You got to give it everything you. That's what fighting for something feels like. So I did it. I did it all under control. But my wife was just like, what I was grateful for in that moment, Jason, because I know so many men that I mentor, that she left and just let me and my son do our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't come in and be like, what's going on here? Why he
Yeah.
got to be crying for? Why I
Pacifying
take
a bit.
all of that?
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
Yeah.
just like, oh, they doing a whole daddy. So I asked her, I said, how come you just left? She said, look, she said, I was holding back tears, and I was like, and I know when you go into father son mode or whatever mode, I have to leave. So I think part of the dynamics is the woman allowing you to be the
Yeah.
father that you've already convicted in your heart to be. Like
Yeah.
like what Chizzy was saying, this stuff come out of your subconscious. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just know instinctively what I got to do to my son right now. No, I don't have to ask anyone, but it would make it challenging if I got undermined, or if I got cut off the knees, or if I got,
Yeah.
the rug pull out from under me, whatever analogy you want to use from his mother or mother figure, and undermined my authority, like it would throw off the whole principle of what I was trying to do with the children. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Um, of course, there are challenges that come with being a single father, divorced household, and I'm speaking to what you're talking about as it relates to sometimes your inability to parent effectively because the emotions of a past relationship or your ex or your ex-wife or your ex-girlfriend, that's driving a lot of her decisions as it relates to how she cuts your legs off from underneath you when it comes to you being, stepping up and being a parent. But like you said, like that consistency is important. The values, the structure, what you do, speaks louder than what you say. So in spite of those members, and this is going on to the brothers who have those challenges with their exes or with their children's moms, like the best thing you can do is just be consistent with either your time, your words, and your approach to your values and your parenting style. And eventually that will yield fruit. That will bear the fruit that you expected to bear. And it's a hard pill to swallow when you know in your heart that all you're trying to do is be a support to your son. All you're trying to do is build that bridge that appears to be breaking down because your mama's giving you all that extra energy that's taking you in the other direction. But I can tell you with certainty that you have to just stick to the wicket. In Bermuda, we say stick to the wicket and the runs will come, which simply means just be consistent with it, and eventually you will get those gains, and you will get those wins that you're looking for. But it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier when you have the right resources, when you have people to hold you accountable, when you have brothers who can give you steps, to give you support, when you're guided by principles that come straight from the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It makes it a lot easier to do that. And I'm attesting to that, trust me.
And I want to hear from Jason on this too, about how you do it with your wife when it comes to that. Because one of the things I think helps as well, Chizzy, is perspective, and having elders really speak to us when we're ready to step into these roles. Because I did make a couple of phone calls early in my fatherhood, and one of them was, hey, what's the best way you could ever love your kids? What's the best way? And I didn't really have an answer. I'm like, I don't know. He said, love their mama.
Yeah.
The best way you can love on your kids is to love their mother. Because that was a paradigm shift in the moment. Chizzy, if nobody never told me that, I would have had a whole different mentality on tick for tack, scorecard ministry. You do this, I do that, balance it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. Like, man, I've been doing all this. You ain't been, you really petty and self-absorbed sometimes, even as a parent. But because my perspective was the best way I can love on my kids is love their mom, I never saw her as we're in this fight together. I'm competing against you. Like, I saw her inclusive in the fathering. That part of the loving of them is loving her. So whatever I gotta do to do that, I know it's going to be a good demonstration subconsciously, a good example, a good foundation for my children to understand. Because here's something, right? Man, this is going on the internet, but I'm gonna share it. Okay.
This is what we do, bro. This is what we do, bro.
Recently, and I'm definitely gonna let Jason talk about it because I'm saying too much now. But my children at the age where they even know when we make mistakes as parents. So when you got teenage kids, Jason, like they know stuff that you thought they didn't know that they knew. And so I was in a situation where, some choice words were said and I felt some type of way, but my children heard them. And I wanted to be a mean, nasty. I had I had no Christian in me whatsoever, Jason.
You want to be crump.
All crump.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I did call my accountability brother. And he said, you said the kids heard it, right? Go and ask the kids. And I went to the kids and they was like, yeah, Dad, that's messed up. And it was like, but we saw how you responded like a man of God. Yeah. And so we pray for their mom right there. And she just had a bad day. Like in 22 years, right? Your kid's going to see your dad and your mom have a bad day.
Of course.
But it was my response that they respected why they want a Christian spouse. Why my son wants to, because they was like, but the way you responded showed me that you really are a man of God. Because you could have responded this way.
Yeah.
And all that angst that's in me to be crump, when you realize your kids are processing all of that as teenagers, they processing the whole, man, you could have been justified to respond this way, but we saw that you didn't respond that way, which really kept our family in a good space to enjoy this spring break. Like, we're really grateful that you did that. It was like, wow, bro, you really got to be hella mindful of your response. Like, your response got to be all the way on, it's not my fault, but it is my responsibility how I respond. You know what I mean? So Jason, speak to that with you and your wife. How's those dynamics work out when it comes to your parenting?
Um, me and my wife have been very careful not to necessarily disagree in front of our kids. We support each other. We have many of the same values to start out with. So um, God is a big part of both of our lives. We met in the church.
Mhm.
So as far as being equally yoked, I really feel like we were on the same page. So it hasn't really been a struggle. And the few times that we may have had a disagreement, it was one of those things that we discussed privately.
Mm.
Or if my kids, my kids have never seen me and their mother argue, like
Wow.
ever. Um, I mean, part of it is because of the fact that we just don't necessarily like arguing. We're very um, level-headed people, um, and a lot of times I take that whole a soft answer very seriously. So when it comes to if an emotion was on high for some reason, I always make sure that my answer is not you know just as high. Like we're not doing a shouting match. We're not trying to see who's loudest in the building. Like our conversations, even our disagreements, are at a level tone.
Mm.
Um, but to speak on um, just being real with my kids. Me,
Mm.
wife have apologized to our kids. Like
Mm.
when we're wrong, I apologize to my kids because I think
Mm.
strengthens them and validates them for things that they might feel like this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
That response doesn't feel right. So it helps them to figure out themselves and right and wrong and stuff like that. It's like um, if I yell at my kids because I'm tired, you know, I'll go
Mm.
back and hug them and apologize. Like, look, daddy's human too. Daddy has emotions. And I do this with my students as well because I've spazzed on my students before and I've
Yeah.
had
Of
to
course.
go to them like, yo, I'm having a rough week. I'm sorry. And that empowers kids. Not only
Yeah.
our kids, but it shows them that you're not a robot and it makes them open up to you even more.
That
Mm.
You know,
vulnerability piece is important, man, in most of those areas, and so, of course, again, from for the single brothers, for the guys that are out there who are saying, man, how am I supposed to love my children's mama to get to learn how to love my kids? How am I supposed to do this, man? With a lot of humble pie
Come
and
on.
and and being around the right people
Come on.
that don't support the foolishness. Because as we know, you want to be
Yeah.
right or you want to keep the peace. You get what I'm saying? You want to be righteous. You feel what I'm saying? So you know,
And that's the conversation we have, Jason. So we let you in our world a little bit.
oh,
So
there,
like, yeah. So like as a man, when a man gives me a man comment, a man question about life, about women, about children, about God, I'm like, justifiably, you are right.
yeah,
But my
yeah.
question to you, man of God, are your motives, are your spirit, are your energy, are your efforts, are your intentions based on trying to be right or righteous?
mm,
Because that depends on, do you want me to tell you what you need to hear? Do you want me to tell you what you want to hear?
To feel validated, or you will be give it to you
Like what you like
like
you tell me,
WWJD
because I
almost.
don't
You know
really
what I'm
know
saying?
where you are right now on your character trait. Like because like I'm you don't come to me for like, hey bruh, buddy, console me and let, like, you come to me to be held accountable and call out your character. So I'm like, I'm listening to you because I'm being respectful as a man to listen to you and let you get this out. Okay, breathe. Okay. But answer this question for me, and that tell you how I'm going to respond to you. Are you trying to be right? Or are you trying to be righteous? Because if you're trying to be right, we could just kind of dead the conversation, to be
yeah,
honest, because I'm like, I heard you, got it out, I'm good. Go get something to eat, get something to sleep. Let's give yourself 24 hours and then go respond. But if you're trying to be righteous, I can give you some real game. Because it's going to come with a cost.
Right. And you gotta get your reps in to gain that discipline. Somebody come in and demonstrates discipline. You gotta get your reps in with the right circle, with the right people, with your relationship with God, with your relationship with yourself, so that when you're put in these circumstances, you're taking the righteous approach. You're taking
Miles,
you
yeah,
go
hold
ahead,
on.
go ahead.
Miles is throwing a lot of monkey wrenches in the chat, so I'm just letting y'all know. I'm letting you know,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Chiz.
gonna touch
He's
some
throwing,
of those comments, man.
yeah, like he's in the comments starting stuff. So I'm letting you
Yeah.
know that, Chizzy. So he says, and I want to hear from y'all because this live is not about us. It is for y'all. We want to give y'all. We want to add value. So Jason and Chizzy, answer the question: is having your children never see you argue a good thing?
So look, when Jason was saying it, right? I think there's a necessary level of conflict resolution that all kids need to experience in every environment, in as many environments as possible. And how do they learn that? They should learn that ideally from how they experience their parents in their own environments. And of course, now this is just my humble opinion on it. Whatever works in your household is what works in your household. You can't force an argument just so that my kids can can get a measurement for how the conflict resolved. You know what I'm saying? But I do think there's some benefit to having a healthy disagreement with your spouse or your partner that your kids can learn from. And I'm not saying stage anything, but I do think there is some benefit to doing that because the real world will show them otherwise. Because not necessarily they're going to get in situations like yourself and your wife where it's just that harmonious, where you're not going to have any conflict. And you want to be able to, and our job as parents is to,
I would say you
yeah.
don't know. I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna push back because he has it. He's created
No, no,
it.
no. I'm saying he has it. I'm not saying
And
it doesn't
they could be
exist.
an anomaly as a family. You know what I
But
mean?
100%, 100%. And I would like to believe, I want to say, it would be nice if none of us had challenges in our
Mm,
marriage and none of us
okay.
had
Okay. Let
those
me let me let me
issues.
let me let me. I'm not going to absolutes, but what I'm saying is our
Hmm.
culture, our black culture, we've normalized dysfunction and unhealthy relationships so much that we're literally accustomed to seeing. Like, so for me, my kids done seen me have unhealthy and healthy conflict. Like we done cussed and fussed.
Arguments are healthy. Make no
We
mistake
done we
about it.
done we done cried. We done like they done seen it all. Like
Mhm.
I am not all the way there, but over the years, I'm way better. It's way different. Like, but
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning of me as a young man, me figuring out life and doing everything, I'm at where I'm at with a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
But Jason is creating a home and a
hmm
culture, right?
hmm
We heard it in real time. He's created a home where he's praying for his daughter's husbands.
sure.
A lot of black girls don't come from homes where their father and mother is nurturing them not only in a way where the mother and father of having healthy discord, but also praying for their future families and their future spouses. So we don't even know what the outcome and like they're because I'm hearing Jason's story, and shout out to the podcast. You guys are going to want to see this episode. It drops on Monday. You're going to want to see this episode to hit
My
his
goodness,
powerful brother
for sure.
because your family, you are a byproduct of what you're doing with your daughters is what your father did for you. So yes, statistically for black families and for girls, things are dysfunctional for a lot of people. But for
Hmm.
you and your house, for you and your family, you guys been able to create a couple generations of healthy wholeness connectivity for where you're still having social and business relationships with your cousin and your father in your 40s, where a lot of black men cannot say that. So it's like,
Yeah,
yes, if we said to the world, is it unhealthy to see that? Okay. But to him and his family and his lineage and how they raised the children in their home, they may be able to curate that type of environment that has a different dynamics when it comes to the home. You know what I mean?
So
facts,
so
facts.
to kind of answer the question,
Hmm.
um, my kids have seen anger.
Yeah,
Um, like I said in my description, um, in dealing with my children, I've had to apologize for my emotional outbursts.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to. Me and my wife have had discussions in front of them, but they're healthy discussions.
100%.
And I
Yeah.
say, never seen us argue. They've never seen us go tit for tat. You know,
Okay.
um, what we see in the media, right?
Mm.
Husbands and wives getting at each other, just like you said, trying to be right.
Yeah.
That we're intentional about not doing. You know, but yeah, they've seen the other side. They've seen anger. They've seen disappointed. They've seen stress. They've seen depression.
Mm-hmm.
And what we try to do is we try to model a healthy way of dealing with it. They've seen us downright tired. Like, yo, go, like 3-year-old. I don't care if you three. Go take your own shower today. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, it's the normal
I,
stuff that takes
I'll
place in a
text
household.
you know.
Yeah.
They've seen it, and what we try to do is we try to respond as healthy as we can. Are we always right? No. Me and my wife has had to go, and like I said, had to apologize to our kids. And I think we've worked through some conflict resolution even today about my daughter wanting to wear her bigger sister's dress to the wedding tomorrow. It's like she
Yeah.
he was about to go off on that, and we're just like, you know what? There's a lot of people out there who do not have pretty glittery dresses with what we call in our house twirlability. You know what I'm saying? So
Credibility. I like
Shout out
that.
to twirlability, man.
Credibility.
they spin and it doesn't flare out, they're not wearing it.
Right.
It has to have twirlability,
Yeah.
man.
So
I'm dead.
this live is
That's
a,
about to be in the Ebonic dictionary. I feel like
Yeah,
it's
this
gonna be in the Ebonic
yeah.
dictionary.
is
I need
officially titled twirlability, bro.
twirlability.
Twirlability. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that. I do like that.
make
Yeah,
sure we
I
I've
do.
never. Hey, Wikipedia, look out! Twirlability is
yeah.
coming
So
out. But
one thing we can agree on is that parenting is one of the most difficult jobs on the planet.
Yeah.
There's no handbook. We heard this. There's no handbook. There's no manual. There's no right and well, there's a right and wrong way, obviously, but it's one of the most difficult jobs. And what we endeavor to do with these conversations is to highlight our successes and our failures and our challenges in the hopes that we can help to catalyze an end result that's favorable for man in the community through our conversations and through stuff that we've learned, stuff that we've experienced, and so there is no right or wrong answer in
Mm,
terms of, we're here to be a mechanism to shed light on some of the conversations, some of the things that do not get discussed between man. And that and the truth of the matter is, we really, really, really need to break down this facade that we got it all figured out and we have all the answers.
mm,
We really, really need to hone in on really developing man from the perspective of I know nothing and I'm willing to learn.
yeah,
mhm.
and Jason, with that transition, bro, close us out with your final thoughts and let the people know how they can learn more about you, man.
Shout out to our 600 subs. We got 600 subscribers on YouTube right now.
Hey,
We're gonna shout out
Hey,
for that.
hey,
That's a big deal.
yeah, we're getting up there, Kitty. We're getting
that's
up there. Yeah.
beautiful. Um, man, there are so many things that I can say. Um, but as far as the legacy that I want to leave
Mm.
here, um, is about really treating each other better, right? Treating each other better. Um, and I thought of something the other day. Um, about something the other day when I realized that in most of our schools, um, kids grow up with their insecurities being affirmed, right? Like there's a lot of insecurities being affirmed in our schools. There's a lot of insecurities being affirmed just in our friend groups because, you know, they say it's a joke, but a lot of times they're talking about things that you've already noticed about yourself, and a lot of times you have to try to laugh it off. And I'm not trying to change the culture because there's a certain amount of callous that you have to have in order to be successful in this world.
Sure.
We need to be a little bit more mindful with the things that we say to each other, even in joking, right? There's this whole big thing going on right now of young people taking pictures of other kids' foreheads, right? And I don't necessarily understand it, but it's just like, yo, you are taking like the most unsatisfying, ungratifying picture of this person, and you're posting it and you're making fun of it, and it's all in the name of jest. But how do you know that person doesn't look at themselves in the morning and notice their forehead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that type of foolery is, again, it's a reflection of where we are as society as well, and what's not being done from the perspective of the self-love and really, really, really honing on our capacity to build up people so that they don't need to promote the foolishness on a social media platform to give them likes and give them validation. That's all that is. That's seeking validation from external sources that they necessarily don't get from whom, from fathers, from loved ones. And you know, that's
it's perpetuating insecurity.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I feel insecure about this thing. So I talk about it and I point it out in other people. Right. So as far as that goes, I feel like if we really just learned how to, like you said, love yourself, love who you are, accept who you are, and understand that God don't make no junk. Right. We're made different for a reason so that we could appreciate each other's differences and not just point out what you have that I don't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. So that's what at the end of our podcast, I was just like, yo, kindness is free.
Sure.
Right. So be kind. And if you want to be funny, but let's challenge our creativity a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this as a person who hasn't,
roasted somebody.
I participated. I do. I'm with the boys. When I'm with the fellas, we do that. You know what I'm saying? The court, especially on the court, but like, man, you suck.
But again,
I say it to Chizzy all the time. I'm so proud of his
grown man banter and
said
vulnerable kids.
But you also said the forehead. I was like, yo, Chizzy, he's getting roasted right now. He's
that's where you went with it?
Oh man.
Okay.
Oh man.
See, I wasn't even thinking of that. You know what I'm saying? And so look, to your point, right? So that's the difference between a confident man having confident banter, and he's my brother, so it don't matter to me. But then when you start to exploit the vulnerability of young people, that's when it becomes challenging. That's when it becomes negative and counterproductive to their own personal development. And so to your point, we definitely have to do a better job with our kids and showing them that it's okay to celebrate differences and still also celebrate the confidence and the love and demonstrate that love in other ways, man. So yeah, I definitely agree on this.
Man, Jason, thank you so much, man. But before we close out, bro, tell the people where they can find out more about Mr. Jason Richards, man.
Well, you can definitely follow me on IG, RICWORK 711. That's the IG. There's also richwork.academy. That's another IG page that we have. And then follow my cousin Richwork Miles, man. He's one of the best trainers, personal trainers, athletic coaches, basketball trainers in the state. Man, definitely shout out to him. That's pretty much it. I really don't do other social medias. Like, I know I need to do a little bit better with that. I do. But be on the lookout for the Richwork clothing line. It's gonna be dropping pretty soon.
Okay. I'm interested in that because I'm on that similar journey myself with stuff that I'm doing with one of the coaches as well. So we're gonna chat offline. We can kind of maybe do some cross branding or something if possible. If if that's cool with you. Yeah.
And I want to thank all of our podcasters, man. Shout out for y'all, Boy Man King, supporting the pod. We got 500 downloads on the Audible channel. We got 600 subs on the YouTube. We got thousands of people consuming our content, man. We got 4 or 5 countries that's listening to the pod, man. We want to say, me and Chizzy and the whole team, shout out to K Noah, our production team. Shout out to everybody, bro. Kai the guy. Thank you guys so much for helping us build this platform of helping men become better men by going through the journey of becoming a boy, a man, and king. And as we always say, Chizzy, the journey continues, man. Chizzy, any last words you want to give us before we tap out, man?
Yeah, no, I just want to say that not only are these podcasts beneficial for other people, man, as we know, they're beneficial for us as well. So I just will always be humbled by the opportunity to sit with any brother that's willing to just sit and be honest and be vulnerable and be open about the things that they struggle with and the things that because it's a learning opportunity for everyone. So I really, really appreciate that, man. And happy holidays to everybody, man. Spend time with your family. Do what you got to do, man, but still be consistent with those routines so that you can have the best year ever in 2024, man. Let's have it.
Yeah, man. Blessings to you guys. Rich, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you too, man. All right, man.